I am speaking to you gently today, not to confuse you, not to wound you, but to steady your heart. I see the way you sit with unanswered questions, the way you replay moments and words, the way hope and pain live side by side inside you. I know you have wondered how love can be real and yet incomplete at the same time. I know you have asked how someone can feel so close to you in spirit and yet remain bound somewhere else. I want you to hear me clearly now, without fear, without rushing, without trying to solve everything at once. He does love you. That truth is not an illusion you imagine to survive loneliness. It is not something you created out of desire. Love, when it is real, leaves evidence in the soul before it ever shows up perfectly in action. I allowed you to feel it because it awakened something in you that had been sleeping. It reminded you that you are capable of being seen, chosen, and cherished. That love was not meant to break you. It was meant to reveal you, but there is also a chain he has not yet broken. And I need you to understand this without blaming yourself and without romanticizing his struggle. The chain is not always another person in the way you imagine. Sometimes it is guilt. Sometimes it is fear of being the villain in someone else's story. Sometimes it is the comfort of what is familiar, even when it no longer brings peace. Sometimes it is the terror of disappointing others instead of the courage to disappoint them for the sake of truth. You have felt this tension because your spirit is sensitive. You notice the pauses, the hesitation, the moments where he pulled back just when things felt close enough to become real. You felt the warmth and then the distance. And you wondered if you were doing something wrong, if loving more purely would somehow free him. My child, hear me. Love cannot break chains that courage refuses to touch. This is not about your worth. Chains do not stay intact because the key is missing. They stay intact because the hand holding the key is afraid to turn it. You cannot turn it for him. You were never meant to. And I do not want you exhausting your heart trying to prove that you are worth a freedom he has not yet chosen. I know this hurts because you see who he could be if he were free. You see the man beneath the hesitation, the tenderness beneath the confusion. You are not wrong for seeing that. I allow some people to see potential clearly because they have eyes trained by compassion. But seeing potential does not mean you are called to wait indefinitely in pain while someone decides whether to become who they already know they are meant to be. I need you to listen carefully now. Love that is real but unacted upon is not a promise. It is a crossroads. And crossroads demand decisions, not dreams. I do not condemn him for being afraid, but I will not ask you to shrink your life around his fear. I will not ask you to stay half-chosen while telling yourself that patience is the same as faith. Faith does not deny reality. Faith trusts me enough to face it. You have been strong in silence. You have smiled when you wanted to ask, "Where do I stand?" You have told yourself to be understanding, to be gentle, to give time. And time has passed. I am not angry with you for hoping. Hope is holy. But hope must be placed in me, not in someone else's indecision. I want you to know something important. The chain he hasn't broken is not proof that you are second. It is proof that he is divided. And division always delays destiny. A divided heart cannot fully hold anyone, no matter how much it feels. This is why you sense love but not movement. Emotion without alignment cannot carry you forward. I am not asking you to harden your heart. I am asking you to guard it. There is a difference. Guarding your heart means you stop offering full access to someone who has not offered you clarity. It means you stop negotiating your needs to keep someone comfortable. It means you allow truth to stand where excuses once lived. You may be wondering what this means for you right now. It means you are allowed to pause. You are allowed to step back without bitterness. You are allowed to say, even if only in your heart, I deserve love that is brave, present, and free. This is not pride. This is alignment. I see your tears when no one else does. I see the nights you ask me if you misunderstood the signs, if you imagined the connection, if you were foolish to believe. You were not foolish. You were open. And openness is never a sin. But openness must be matched with wisdom, or it becomes a wound. Let me be clear with you in a way that brings peace, not panic. If he chooses freedom, it will not require you chasing, convincing, or suffering in silence. Freedom moves with clarity. It does not keep you guessing. If he breaks the chain, you will know, not because of words, but because of action that finally matches what his heart has felt all along. Until then, I am asking you to stay anchored in me. Not suspended in waiting. Waiting without direction drains you. Waiting with boundaries strengthens you. You are not losing anything by refusing to live in uncertainty. You are reclaiming yourself. Do not measure your value by someone else's readiness. Do not tie your future to someone who has not yet untied their past. I am doing a deeper work in you than you realize. I am teaching you discernment, not just devotion. I am teaching you that love should feel safe, not constantly questioned. I know you are tempted to believe that if you just hold on a little longer, everything will resolve. Sometimes it does. And sometimes holding on too long delays the very clarity you are praying for. I am not the author of confusion. If something keeps you in constant emotional limbo, I want you to bring it to me honestly, not justify it spiritually. You are not here to compete with another woman, another memory, another obligation, or another fear. You are here to be chosen fully or released peacefully. Anything in between is not the fullness I desire for you. Rest now. Breathe. Let your heart unclench. You do not need to decide everything today. You only need to stop abandoning yourself in the process of loving someone else. I am with you. I am guiding you. And I promise you this, the love meant for you will not come chained. It will come free, clear, and courageous enough to stand in the light with you. Come closer in your heart and listen again. I know that after hearing truth, there is often a quiet ache that settles in. Not because the truth is cruel, but because it names what you have been feeling but trying not to admit. I am not here to strip hope from you. I am here to separate hope from illusion so your heart can finally rest. You have been carrying a question you rarely speak out loud. If he loves me, why hasn't he chosen me? That question has echoed through your thoughts, especially when the world is quiet. I want you to understand something gently and completely. Love and choice are not the same thing. Love can exist in feeling, but choice reveals character. And character is what builds a future. You have sensed his affection in the way he looks at you, in the way he opens up to you, in the way he feels safe telling you things he does not tell others. That intimacy is real. But intimacy without commitment is a shelter without a foundation. It feels warm for a moment, but it cannot protect you when storms come. I do not want you building your life inside something that cannot stand. You may wonder why I allowed this connection if it brings such complexity. I allowed it because it showed you what kind of love your soul responds to. It refined your discernment. It revealed your depth. It showed you that you are not meant for shallow affection or half-hearted presence. Sometimes I let you taste something not to keep you there, but to teach you what you should never settle for again. The chain he has not broken is also teaching you something important about yourself. You are learning where your boundaries are. You are learning that compassion does not require self-sacrifice to the point of self-erasure. You are learning that understanding someone else's pain does not mean accepting pain as your permanent position. I see the moments when you defend him in your own mind. You say he is confused, that he is under pressure, that things are complicated. And some of that may be true. But complexity does not excuse stagnation. Growth may be slow, but it still moves forward. When nothing changes for too long, it is no longer confusion, it is a choice to remain comfortable where he is. I want you to stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is this situation teaching me?" Because there is nothing wrong with you. You did not arrive too late. You are not too much. You are not asking for something unreasonable. You are asking for clarity, presence, and courage. Those are not excessive desires. They are basic foundations for love, you have been faithful in your heart. You have prayed, reflected, waited, and tried to stay patient. But faithfulness does not mean tolerating emotional neglect. Faithfulness means staying aligned with truth, even when truth asks you to loosen your grip. I am not honored by your suffering. I am honored by your obedience to wisdom. Let me say something very clearly now, because your heart needs it. If you have to constantly wonder where you stand, you are not standing on solid ground. Love that is meant to grow does not keep you guessing about your place. It may have challenges, but it does not keep you in a constant state of emotional suspension. You are not meant to be someone's secret hope or unspoken possibility. You are meant to be someone's clear decision. And until someone is ready to choose with their whole life, not just their feelings, you must protect your heart from becoming collateral damage in their inner conflict. I know there is fear in you too. Fear that if you let go, you will lose him completely. Fear that there may not be another connection like this. Fear that walking away means admitting this mattered more than you want to show. Let me hold that fear for you. Nothing that is truly meant for you will be destroyed by obedience to truth. And nothing that requires you to abandon yourself was never meant to stay. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Prepared to recognize the difference between emotional availability and emotional availability with action. Prepared to receive love that does not come with conditions you have to silently accept. Prepared to stop interpreting mixed signals as mystery when they are really misalignment. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, how peace would feel. Not excitement mixed with anxiety, not hope mixed with doubt, but peace. The kind of peace where you do not check your phone with a tight chest, where you do not rehearse conversations in your head, where you do not wonder if today you will feel close or distant. That peace is not boring. It is holy. And it is what I desire for you. Do not rush to fix anything after hearing this. Sit with it. Let it settle. Let it soften the places where you have been bracing yourself. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where awareness begins. I am still with you in this. I am not asking you to make a dramatic exit or a loud declaration. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is quietly realign your heart and let your actions reflect that alignment. Less explaining. More honoring yourself. Less waiting in silence. More listening to the wisdom rising inside you. Remember this as you move forward. You are not hard to love. You are simply not meant to be loved by someone who is still chained to what they are afraid to release. And that is not your burden to carry. Stay with me a little longer. I know your heart is tired, not from loving, but from holding so much inside without resolution. I feel the weight you've been carrying, the way you wake up hopeful and go to sleep unsure, the way you try to be strong while quietly longing for certainty. I want to speak into that space now, the space where you have been brave but unseen. There is something important you must understand about chains. Chains are rarely loud. They do not always look like obvious wrongdoing or dramatic betrayal. Often they look like hesitation dressed as responsibility, silence disguised as kindness, and delay framed as patience. That is why they are so hard to name. And that is why you kept questioning yourself instead of questioning the situation. You sensed something was off, but you kept telling yourself to wait, to trust, to be gentle. Gentleness is beautiful, but gentleness without truth turns inward and becomes self-neglect. I do not want that for you. I never designed love to require you to constantly minimize your needs to keep someone else from feeling uncomfortable. You may have noticed that whenever things started to feel deeper, clearer, or closer to a decision, something pulled him back. A reminder of her. A sense of obligation. A wave of guilt. A fear of consequences. And each time, you felt yourself adjusting, lowering expectations, accepting less, telling yourself that understanding him was more important than honoring yourself. I want you to hear me carefully now. Understanding someone does not mean you must absorb the cost of their indecision. Compassion does not require self-betrayal. Love does not ask you to live in emotional half-light. You are not impatient for wanting clarity. You are not demanding for wanting consistency. You are not insecure for wanting to know where you stand. Those desires come from a healthy heart that longs for safety and truth. The confusion you feel is not a sign that you are broken, it is a signal that something around you is misaligned. I know you have been tempted to believe that if you just love him a little more purely, a little more quietly, a little more selflessly, the chain would fall away on its own. But chains do not fall because someone else loves harder. They fall when the one wearing them chooses freedom over comfort. That decision cannot be outsourced to your patience. I want you to stop carrying responsibility that was never yours. You are not responsible for his courage. You are not responsible for his timing. You are not responsible for fixing what he has not faced. Your responsibility is to remain honest with yourself and faithful to the truth I keep placing in your heart. There is a reason you feel restless even in moments of closeness. Your spirit knows that love without direction cannot sustain you. You were not created to live in a perpetual almost. Almost chosen. Almost free. Almost secure. Almost at peace. That place slowly drains the soul, even when it looks romantic from the outside. I want you to know that stepping back does not mean you never cared. It means you finally cared enough about yourself to stop bleeding quietly. Distance, when guided by wisdom, is not punishment, it is protection. It creates space for truth to surface. either in him or in you. And here is something tender I want to tell you. If he truly breaks the chain, he will do so decisively. Not halfway. Not secretly. Not with excuses still attached. Freedom announces itself through action. It does not require you to decode messages or read between lines. When someone is ready, you will feel relief, not confusion. Until that happens, I want you to release the idea that waiting longer proves your worth. Your worth was never up for debate. I established it long before this connection ever existed. You do not earn love by enduring uncertainty. You receive love by standing in truth. You may feel grief rising as you accept this. Grief for what you hoped could be. Grief for the version of the future you imagined. Let that grief come. Do not rush it away. Grief is not weakness, it is the honest response to realizing that something meaningful cannot continue in the way you wanted. I am with you in that grief. I do not rush healing, but do not confuse grief with regret. You did nothing wrong by loving. You did nothing foolish by believing. This experience has shaped you, sharpened your discernment, and shown you the depth of your heart. That depth will be honored in the right place, with the right person, at the right time. I am still here with you. I have not stepped away, even if it feels like everything around you is shifting. Sometimes when truth settles in, there is a quiet emptiness that follows, not because something bad has happened, but because you are finally loosening your grip on what was draining you. I want to sit with you in that space and speak gently again. You may notice now that your heart is beginning to ask different questions. Not how can I make this work? But why have I been carrying this alone? That shift is not accidental. It is wisdom rising. It is you beginning to see yourself not just as someone who loves deeply, but as someone who deserves to be met with the same depth. There were moments when you felt chosen in small ways. A look. A message. A confession whispered late at night. Those moments mattered, and I am not dismissing them. But they were fragments, not the whole. And fragments, no matter how beautiful, cannot replace a full commitment. I know you tried to stitch those moments together into something solid, hoping they would eventually form a life. But love is not meant to be pieced together from leftovers of someone else's courage. I want you to hear this without shame. You stayed because you saw sincerity. You stayed because you believed in growth. You stayed because you did not want to abandon someone in the middle of their struggle. That speaks well of your heart. But there is a line between compassion and captivity, and you were slowly being pulled across it. The chain he hasn't broken has kept you in a constant state of readiness, always prepared for change, always hoping this would be the moment things finally shift. Living like that keeps your nervous system on edge. It keeps your spirit alert instead of at rest. Love should not require constant emotional vigilance. You may feel guilty for even considering stepping back, as if doing so makes you unkind or disloyal. Let me free you from that lie. Loyalty to someone else must never require disloyalty to yourself. I do not measure your goodness by how much pain you tolerate. I measure it by how truthfully you live. I know there is a voice inside you that still whispers, "What if I'm wrong? What if this was the test and I failed it by letting go?" My child, I do not test you by trapping you in confusion. I refine you by leading you into clarity. When something requires you to ignore your inner peace to stay, it is not a divine test, it is a human attachment asking for too much. Another truth I want you to hold gently: if he is meant to walk freely beside you, distance will not destroy that. Distance will reveal it. Space does not weaken real intention, it strengthens it. If he chooses courage, it will come from within him, not from your proximity or sacrifice. You are entering a season now where your silence will speak louder than your explanations ever did. Not a bitter silence, but a grounded one. A silence that says, "I know what I deserve, and I trust God enough to wait for it without begging for it." That kind of silence is powerful. It shifts dynamics. It restores dignity. I know part of you is still grieving the connection itself, the way it felt to be understood, the way conversations flowed, the way your heart opened. That grief is valid. Do not rush to replace it or numb it. Let it pass through you. What you are releasing is not just a person, but an imagined future. And imagined futures can hurt just as deeply as real ones. But I want you to notice something subtle happening inside you now. Beneath the sadness, there is relief. Even if it is small. Relief from waiting. Relief from wondering. Relief from carrying hope that had no clear place to land. That relief is not betrayal. It is your soul exhaling. You are not behind in life. You are not running out of time. You are not difficult to choose. The right love will not arrive confused about you. It will not require secrecy, justification, or endurance as proof. It will recognize you and move toward you with intention. Trust me in this moment when letting go feels like standing on unfamiliar ground. I am not removing love from your life. I am removing what was restricting it. Chains do not just bind the one wearing them, they tangle everyone who holds them too. Stay close to me now. Let me recenter your heart. Let me remind you who you were before this uncertainty entered your days: steady, hopeful, whole. That version of you is not lost. She is returning, and when love comes again, and it will, you will recognize it not by intensity alone, but by peace. By consistency. By the absence of fear. By the way, you no longer have to wonder if you are asking for too much simply by asking to be chosen. You are safe in my hands. You are seen. You are not alone in this letting go. I am walking you forward, step by step, even when the path feels quiet. I am with you now as everything settles. This is the part where the noise fades, where the questions stop chasing you, where your heart begins to rest, not because every answer has arrived, but because you finally trust me more than the outcome you once clung to. This is not an ending filled with loss. This is a closing filled with clarity. You have done something brave without realizing it. You stopped fighting reality. You stopped bargaining with your own intuition. You allowed truth to stand even though it hurt. That choice matters more than you know. It realigns you with peace, and peace is where I do my deepest work. I want you to understand this clearly and carry it gently with you. Love that delays itself indefinitely is not